Hello, my name is Carlos. I want to tell you about my time in London and how I learned English. You can learn English with my story. It was a sunny day in London. I was on a bus, and two people were sitting near me. They were talking in English. I didn't understand much. I am studying English, but I am just starting. I don't know many words. I decided to talk to them. I used some simple English words. The people understood me, and that made me very happy. I told them I wanted to learn English. They said they were from England and were going home from work. We talked for about 10 minutes. When my stop came, I said goodbye. The people gave me their email address and told me I could contact them. Then we said goodbye. After that day, I studied English every day. I read English books and watched English TV shows. After 6 months, my English was better. It was good, but I wanted to improve more. I went to London because I wanted to learn English in England. When I got to London, I joined a school. My first class was on a Monday. I met my teacher and the other students. My teacher was a kind and helpful woman. We introduced ourselves and started the lesson. Our teacher asked us what we already knew about English. She said she had a good way to teach us. This way was different. She said we wouldn't have to only study from books. Instead, we would use English a lot in our daily lives. This worked very well for me. I didn't like studying from textbooks because they were confusing. Then, we talked about why language is important. Our teacher told us that language is for communication. We use languages to talk to each other and share our thoughts. So, the best way to learn a new language is to use it to express ourselves and communicate with others. And that is what we would do in our class. We would speak and use English a lot. Many students try to memorize words and grammar rules. These students don't use English for speaking. They learn about the language, but they don't use the language. Of course, you need to learn words and grammar, but you also need to practice them regularly. In this class, our teacher wanted to show us a simple and effective way to learn vocabulary and grammar. I liked what she said. Our lesson continued. We talked about our hobbies and what we like to do in our free time. We spoke in pairs and with our teacher. I enjoyed the classes. I am very happy that this way of learning was so good for me. Chapter 2. How I improved my vocabulary. I went to school again on Tuesday. One of the students asked a question that I also wanted to know. She asked what the best way to learn new words is. Our teacher said there are many ways to learn new words. She told us that the most effective way is by reading. When people read, they learn new words much faster than people who don't read. It is good to read for at least 30 minutes every day. She also told us how to get the most out of reading. First, it is very important that the book or text you read is interesting to you. It is important that you enjoy reading it. The book can be a good story, fiction or non-fiction, whatever you like. Don't read something that is boring. When you don't know many words, you might get frustrated. You should always enjoy learning. It is helpful to choose a text that is interesting and also not too hard for your level. When you are reading and you find a word you don't understand, you should use a dictionary to find its meaning. This will help you understand the text better, and you will learn the new word. You don't have to write the word down. It will automatically stay in your memory, and you will remember its meaning when you see it again. Every time you find a new word, do the same thing. Reading has another big advantage. When you read, you learn new words, and you also learn how words connect with each other in a sentence. You can see how to use words correctly. This way of learning new words is very effective. Try it, and you will see how quickly you can learn. Then we continued the lesson. We talked about life in England and the best jobs for students. This was good for me because I wanted to find a part-time job. I asked the other students if they knew where I could find one. They told me I should go to a job center. The job center has many jobs, especially for students. I was happy to know where I could look for a job. After school, I went to the job center. I didn't know what kind of job I could do, so I asked the person there what the best job for a student is. She said they had some good options. She suggested I could be a cleaner or a waiter in a cafe. I told her that I didn't have any experience with those jobs. She said that my English was good enough to work at a cafe. The training was easy, and I would have more opportunities to practice English there than as a cleaner. She said I could start on Thursday. This was great for me. I was happy to have a job where I could practice English. Remember, to learn new words effectively, read for at least 30 minutes every day. On Wednesday, I went to school again. There was one student in our class who was quieter than the others. He was from South Korea. When our teacher asked if we had any questions, this student from Korea said he did. He said he had a big problem with pronunciation. He knew his pronunciation wasn't very good, but he didn't know how to improve it. He didn't speak much, because he didn't want others to hear him make mistakes. He said that he reads a lot and watches English films. He understands well, but he also wants to speak better. He asked if there was anything he could do. Our teacher said, "Okay, I will teach you about pronunciation and how to practice it. I will also show you some techniques that can help all of you improve your pronunciation. First, we need to understand why many students have trouble with pronunciation. When we speak, we move our mouths and use muscles in our mouths. We all do that. The problem is that when you speak English, sometimes you use your muscles the same way you do in your native language. Then, your pronunciation sounds different from native speakers. This happens to many people learning English. Almost everyone has some differences in their pronunciation. However, it's usually not a big problem because people can still understand what you mean, even if your pronunciation isn't perfect. But if you want to make it better, there is a great technique called shadowing that can help a lot. The technique is very simple. When you do shadowing, you simply copy the sound you hear. When children learn their first language, they learn by copying their parents over and over again. Eventually, their pronunciation becomes perfect. You can learn English pronunciation in a similar way. Here's what you can do. Find some videos or audio recordings that are not too fast and that you can understand well. Listen and copy what you hear at the same time. That's all you have to do. Then, our teacher used her computer to find information about the shadowing technique. She found some good videos that showed how to do it. We watched the video, and then we all tried shadowing for about 3 minutes. Our teacher told us that shadowing is also helpful when you are preparing for a presentation in English and want to have good pronunciation. Before the presentation, you can go somewhere alone and do shadowing for about 10 minutes. You will see how much it helps your pronunciation during the presentation. This was very interesting to me. I had never heard of this technique before. After the lesson, I went to the school office. I asked the receptionist if there were any sports activities at the school. I wanted to play some sports in England. The receptionist said yes. They have a table tennis team and a football team. The football team had practice that day at 5 p.m. I was very happy because sports are important to me. I went to the football team's practice. I met many players from different countries: Brazil, Japan, Russia, Spain, Argentina, and Italy. I enjoyed the practice. I was very happy that my time in England was starting well. I had a great teacher, and I also had some new friends from the football team. Also, I was starting my job the next day. Remember, if you want to have good pronunciation, repeat after native speakers. On Thursday, I went to school again. We had a new student in our class. Her name was Elizabeth, and she was from Italy. At the beginning of the lesson, our teacher asked Elizabeth some questions. My teacher knew Elizabeth because she had been in her class for a short time the year before. It was a class for beginners, and only lasted for 2 weeks during the summer. When Elizabeth spoke, her English was beautiful. Her pronunciation was very good, and she was fluent. My teacher was very pleased and told Elizabeth that her school in Italy must be excellent. Elizabeth said she didn't go to a regular school. She learned English at home. She used the techniques she learned from our teacher: reading, shadowing, and thinking aloud. She tried to think in English as much as possible, instead of Italian. The 2 weeks I spent in your class last summer helped me a lot. You showed me how to learn. Now I know how to improve my English every day. That's why I wanted to join your class again. A year ago, I was a beginner, and now I can speak English. I want to continue learning from you. My teacher was very happy to hear this. She praised Elizabeth for her hard work. This was all very interesting to me. I already knew about reading and shadowing, but Elizabeth also mentioned thinking aloud. I didn't know what that was, so I asked our teacher. "What is thinking aloud?" I asked. Our teacher replied, "It's a very effective technique. You need to be very motivated to learn English if you want to benefit from it. Also, some people might find this technique a little strange, but it can help you improve your English very quickly." I said, "I am very motivated. I don't care if the technique is strange if it helps. I want to learn it. Can you teach us how to do it?" "Okay," she said. "It's actually quite simple. You think in your native language all day long. That's normal. Now, you can start to think in English. And when you start thinking in English, you can say your thoughts out loud. You simply say aloud what you are thinking. That's all." I said, "That sounds very simple. Why is it so effective?" Our teacher said, "Maybe you can ask Elizabeth. She uses this technique. Maybe she can tell you more about her experience with it." Then, our teacher asked Elizabeth if she would be willing to talk about her experience with thinking aloud. "It's not a problem," Elizabeth said. "When I started using this technique, it wasn't easy. I began with very simple sentences. For example, I can speak English. It's good that I can speak English. I want to get better. I need to practice every day. I don't know many words, but I can use the words I know. I can express my ideas with these words. I can do this. This is great." The sentences were very simple, but at the beginning, there was a problem. My thoughts in Italian were long and complicated. I couldn't say the same thing in English. I needed to find a simpler way to think in English. Thinking in simple English was the hardest part, but after some time, it became normal for me. Then, something interesting happened. I met a man from Australia. He was on vacation in Italy. I was still a beginner, but we were able to speak English. I realized that I could communicate with him without having any problems. My sentences were simple and short, but I could speak. I didn't have to translate from Italian to English in my head. After meeting the man from Australia, I started to use thinking aloud more often. This technique helped me a lot with my speaking skills. I still use it every day. It's a very effective technique. Our teacher thanked Elizabeth for sharing her experience. I wanted to use this technique too, because I also wanted to improve my speaking.